Hey guys, this is Andrew Frezza with FitTown, and in today's video, I'm going to be revealing how food companies are using their packaging to lie to you and deceive you, and the number one skill that you can learn and develop, which is learning how to read nutrition labels in order to prevent these companies from being able to deceive you. Being able to read and decipher nutrition labels is one of the most essential life skills that you can learn and develop and acquire. And if you learn how to do it, it will be a skill that you will likely use every day for the rest of your life. And how many things out there can you say that about? So with reading nutrition labels, what I often see is that people spend too much time paying attention to the front of the package and not enough time on the back of the package. And one thing that we need to understand is that the front of the package is basically the brand, the company that you're buying that package from. That is their ability to market to you, okay? That is marketing on the front of that package with the brand name, even some of the claims you see on there like low calorie, high protein, gluten-free, even sometimes organic. These things can be very misleading, and essentially that front of the package is the company's opportunity, the brand's opportunity to mislead you. Where the truth typically lies is on the back of the package, where we see the nutrition facts and the ingredients list being the two key components. And these companies have to be a lot more truthful in what they put in the back of the package in those nutrition facts and ingredients list. There's a lot less ways for them to kind of cheat the system and make things look better than they actually are. And when it comes to the nutrition facts and the ingredients, we have to understand that both of these two elements are important. And what I found is that a lot of people either focus on one or the other. So if you're someone that's very focused on tracking calories, tracking grams of protein, maybe you're following a macronutrient-based diet, you're tracking your macros, you're gonna be very focused on the nutrition facts. If you're someone who's focused on what we would consider more of a food quality diet, like a paleo diet or a vegan or vegetarian diet, then you're most likely gonna be focused on the ingredients because you're looking at what is in it and what does it have in it that I may wanna try to avoid, right? You might be trying to avoid wheat or gluten, or you might be trying to avoid sugar on there. You might be trying to avoid animal products, and you're gonna be focused on those ingredients to see what things are and are not in there. And I would encourage you guys moving forward to look at both of those things, because both of those things have valuable information that when you match them up against each other, you learn a lot. So like in the case of nutrition facts, it doesn't really account for a lot of these artificial flavors and artificial ingredients that don't really have nutrition facts to match up. Or even in some of the more natural ingredients like stevias, they're not gonna show up in the nutrition facts because stevia has 0 calories, 0 grams of sugar, and stevia is not a bad thing, but you don't wanna just consume unlimited amounts of it and not know what's in your food. And if you look at something like a Diet Coke, it's gonna have very low calories, very low sugar. So all that stuff is gonna be left out of the nutrition facts. But if you look in the ingredients, you're gonna find a lot of things that you probably don't wanna be putting into your body in excessive amounts. And then when you look at the ingredients label, there's things in there that may not tell the full story until you match it up against nutrition facts. Things like nuts and veggies and natural sugars might look good on an ingredients label, but then when you look at the nutrition facts, that thing might still be really high in fat. It might still be really high in sugar and really high in calories, and it might not be something that you want to overindulge on. So circling back to those nutrition facts, some of the key components that I would encourage you guys to focus on is first and foremost, what is the serving size and what is the servings per container? Because there's a lot of foods out there that you might assume are one serving. I look at a pint of Ben & Jerry's and I just assume that that's one serving because when I consume it, I typically am gonna down that whole pint. But if you look at the back of the package, you're gonna see there's multiple servings in there. And often actually with Ben & Jerry's, they kind of spell it out that there is more servings per container on there because they give you a lot of times the total for the entire pint. But a lot of things are more subtle. I know there was a lot of juices out there for a while where it looked like it was a single serving juice, and then you look at the back of the package and there's actually 2 servings per container, and it might have 15 grams of sugar, which is not terrible for a juice. Then you double that, now you're getting 30 grams of sugar, and that becomes a lot less healthy, a lot less enticing to be able to just take in 30 grams of sugar in liquid form like that. Another example of a company that's very misleading with their packaging is a company called Lenny and Larry's. And they actually got sued for kind of an unrelated issue, which was just purely lying about the amount of grams of protein that was in their cookies. But they have these single serving size cookies, or what appear to be single serving size cookies, since they're individually wrapped. But when you flip it over to the back of the package, they're actually 2 servings per cookie. But again, if you go to the front of the package, that has this 16 grams of protein per cookie advertised. But again, flipping to the back, you realize that you have to eat 2 full servings in order to get that. And you're eating close to 400 calories, close to 30 grams of sugar just to get those 16 grams of protein. So it's not exactly the healthiest way to get that type of protein. And it's just another way that companies can kind of use the front of the packaging to manipulate your buying decision and thinking you're getting something healthier than it really is. The other key components in those nutrition facts that you're going to want to look at are your calories, your macronutrients, and your micronutrients. And calories is going to be the big number at the top of those nutrition facts. And if you're only going to look at one number to assess the quantity of what you're eating, the portion control behind what you're eating, calories is the number to look at, okay? There's an argument to be made that calories don't tell the full story, and we'll talk about that in other videos. But if you were to look at only one number, calories is going to assess how much you're eating at any given time. Now, those calories can be broken down into our macronutrients, which is protein, fats, and carbs. So if you were to know the protein, fat, and carbs of a given food, but you didn't know the calories, you can actually calculate the calories just based off of those 3 numbers, because every calorie is going to be made up of either protein, fat, or carbs. So on a label, fats is typically broken down into types of fats like saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats. And that's definitely a rabbit hole that we can go down in future videos. But for now, especially if you guys are new to reading labels, just kind of roughly take that information in and get an idea of where your foods fall, but I wouldn't spend too much time or energy on that. In terms of carbohydrates, that's usually going to be broken down into sugars and fiber, which are more helpful numbers, where as just a general rule of thumb, we're looking to eat less sugar and more fiber. And then with protein, you're typically only going to see one number with that. It's not usually going to be broken down into different types of amino acids and things like that. So just protein's usually going to be just that single number. And then below that, you're often going to see your micronutrients, which is things like vitamin C and zinc and calcium. And not all of them are typically shown. Usually it's only going to be like 4 of them in any given food. So there might be things in there that are not shown. But just know with those micronutrients, those are going to be different vitamins and minerals in given foods. An important thing to note with micronutrients is that you can actually know if those micronutrients are inherent in the given food or if they're added in after processing. And actually a lot of your milks out there, a lot of your cereals out there, these are probably the 2 most common categories of foods that most of the time when you see calcium and magnesium and zinc and all these things in those foods, they're typically just added in after processing, the way that those vitamins and minerals are just typically added into a multivitamin that you might take separately with your meal. So just realize that those foods probably don't have it inherently in it, or those foods had it inherently in it at one point, but through processing, those foods can actually lose some of those vitamins and minerals, and then those vitamins and minerals get added back in after processing. So for me, I just like more of a natural approach where I like those vitamins and minerals to be inherent in those foods. I don't like them to be added in. And if I'm going to take those vitamins and minerals separately, I'd rather just take what I want to take via a multivitamin or supplementing with vitamin D or something like that. And then circling back to the ingredients section of any given label, the most important thing you need to know there is that the ingredients are always going to be listed in order from the most amount in that food to the least amount in that food. So if you pick up a jar of tomato sauce, hopefully the first ingredient in that label is going to be tomatoes. And what you're going to find with a lot of packaged foods is that sugar and versions of sugar, right? Sugar can hide in many different forms, but some kind of variation in sugar might even be the leading ingredient in that food, or it's going to be in the top 2, 3, 5 ingredients in that food. And a lot of cereals, this is the case. I took a look at like a Kind bar, and on a Kind bar, it starts with nuts, but you're going to see in the first 5 ingredients, 3 of those 5 ingredients are some version of a sugar. So it's important to note that, things like corn syrup and honey and high fructose corn syrup and all these different types of syrups and sugars are going to show up in different ways on the back of the label, and this is a way for you to be able to decipher what's really in your foods. So one way this might play out is you have a lot of products out there that will feature these key ingredients or superfood-like ingredients on the front of their package, but then when you flip that product over, you're gonna see that that ingredient isn't as prominent or as high up on that ingredients list as it's being marketed on the front of the package. And one situation that I ran into recently is there's a lot more of these olive oil-based mayos coming out, which got me really excited because a lot of times mayo is typically made with less healthy oils like canola oil and soybean oil. So it was great to see that a lot of these big brands are starting to come out with olive oil based mayos, but I was disappointed in almost every single one that I saw. And I remember seeing Hellmann's has olive oil, but it's not even the first oil listed. They actually have soybean oil as the most prominent oil in their mayo. Even though olive oil is a part of it, I really love to see them just eradicate those other oils altogether. And it's also important to note that a lot of your healthiest foods, your proteins, your vegetables, your fruits, they're not gonna have a label at all. You're gonna grab some broccoli in the store, you're gonna flip it over, you're not gonna be able to find a label on most broccolis and ground beef and shrimp and apples and bananas. Most of those things won't even have a label. So that's a good rule of thumb, is that if something doesn't even have a label, it's probably real food first and foremost, but it's probably gonna be something that's healthy for you to eat. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If nothing else, if this was new to you and overwhelming to you, if nothing else, what I want you to take away from this video is just when you go to the grocery store or you're picking up something out of your refrigerator, your pantry at your house, instead of looking at the front of the package, I want you guys to get used to flipping that product over and looking at the back of the package, looking at those nutrition facts, looking at those ingredients, and starting to get an education of what's really in your food. If you guys enjoyed this video, you want to see more videos like this, I really appreciate you guys liking the video below, subscribing to our channel, and we'll see you on the next one.